Lena had almost cancelled the date twice. After so many bad experiences, she wasn't sure she had the energy for another disappointment. But when Chris messaged her with a funny story about burning pasta and asked her out for dinner, she thought, why not? Maybe this one would be different. And at first, it was. Chris showed up right on time, well dressed in a crisp shirt, his smile warm and confident. He opened the door for her, pulled out her chair and complimented her dress in a way that felt charming rather than rehearsed. For the first time in months, Lena allowed herself to relax. Dinner was perfect. The conversation flowed, the food was incredible, and Chris had a way of making her laugh that felt effortless. Lena thought, finally, maybe I've found someone who gets it. As dessert arrived, she could almost picture a second date, maybe even something more. But then the check landed on the table, and that's when everything changed. Chris picked up the bill with an easy smile, flipping it open casually. "Let me take care of this," he said smoothly. But as he reached into his pocket, his expression shifted. He patted his jacket, then his pants, his smile faltering. "This is embarrassing," he muttered, chuckling nervously. I think I forgot my wallet at home." Lena blinked, stunned. At first, she thought he was joking, but the way his face reddened told her otherwise. "You forgot your wallet," she repeated slowly. "Yeah, I'm so sorry. Total brain slip. Don't worry, I'll get you next time," he said, pushing the bill toward her as if it were no big deal. The waiter hovered politely nearby, and Lena's cheeks burned with humiliation. She pulled out her card, paying for the entire meal, while Chris leaned back, offering another sheepish smile. But what Chris didn't know was that this little act wasn't going to slide. Because later that night, Lena would discover something that turned the whole "forgot my wallet" story into something much bigger. The car ride back was suffocating. Chris hummed lightly to the radio, as if nothing had happened, while Lena stared out the window, her thoughts boiling. She replayed the dinner in her head, how perfect it had been, how he had insisted on ordering the bottle of wine, the appetizers, the dessert. All of it, only for her to foot the bill in the end. She clenched her fists in her lap, her anger mixing with disappointment. Was this just bad luck, or was it a test? She had heard stories of men who pulled this trick to see if women would cover them. She glanced at Chris, searching his face for guilt, but he just smiled, oblivious. When they finally pulled up to her apartment, he leaned in casually. "So, second date?" he asked, as if the night had been flawless. Lena forced a tight smile. "We'll see," she murmured before stepping out. But inside she knew something was off, and she wasn't going to let it go so easily. The next morning, Lena's phone buzzed with a notification. A friend had tagged her in a post. Curious, she opened it and froze. It was a photo of Chris taken just last weekend. He was at a different restaurant, smiling wide, sitting across from another woman. On the table, Lena noticed something that made her blood run cold. The check sitting open, and the woman pulling out her card while Chris leaned back with the same sheepish grin. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't an accident. This was a routine. Lena scrolled through more photos on the friend's feed, and there he was again. Different women, different restaurants, but always the same pattern. Smiling, charming, letting them pay. Her hands shook as she put her phone down. Chris hadn't forgotten his wallet. He never intended to bring it in the first place. That evening, Lena decided she wasn't going to be just another one of his free meals. She texted Chris, casually suggesting they meet for coffee. He agreed instantly, showing up with the same smooth grin that had fooled her before. When they sat down, Lena leaned forward. "Chris, I saw some pictures today. You at other restaurants, buying with other women. Same story, same smile, same check." For the first time, his grin faltered. You don't understand." "No," Lena cut in sharply. "I understand perfectly. You never forgot your wallet. You've been running this game for who knows how long. You're not charming, you're not clever, you're a scammer." Chris shifted uncomfortably, glancing around the cafe as if hoping the floor would swallow him. "Look, dating is expensive, okay? It's just dinner. No harm done." Lena's voice rose, calm but firm. "No harm? You humiliated women. You lied. And tonight, Chris, you're going to pay for your own coffee for once." Chris laughed nervously, reaching into his jacket. but when he pulled out his wallet, Lena froze. Not only did he have it with him, it was stuffed with cash and cards. He hadn't forgotten it at all. The barista arrived with their order. Chris tried to slide the check toward her with his usual act, but Lena grabbed it first, holding it up high. "Not this time," she said loudly enough for the people around them to hear. "This man has a habit of scamming women into paying for his meals." Heads turned, whispers spread. Chris's face turned crimson as the barista frowned, arms crossed. "Sir, if you don't pay, we'll have to ask you to leave and report you." Lena stood, calm and composed. "Enjoy your coffee, Chris. It's finally on you." As she walked away, she felt lighter. Humiliation had turned into empowerment. And Chris? He was left behind, exposed and paying a bill he couldn't charm his way out of. Chris sat frozen, the whispers around the cafe growing louder with every second. A couple at the next table shook their heads in disgust, while another woman muttered, "Typical." The barista placed the bill firmly in front of him and waited. There was no escape. With trembling hands, Chris opened his wallet and peeled out a few bills, the smug confidence gone from his face. For once, he wasn't in control. He wasn't the charmer. He was just another liar, caught in his own trap. Lena watched from the doorway, satisfied but calm. She didn't need revenge. She didn't need to humiliate him further. His own actions had already done that. And the best part? He knew it. Chris avoided her gaze as she walked out, shoulders hunched, his entire game shattered in front of strangers who now saw him for who he really was. That night, Lena replayed the evening with a mixture of relief and clarity. She realized the forgotten wallet wasn't just about money, it was about respect, trust, integrity. Chris had none of it, and no amount of charm could hide that truth forever. She smiled to herself, stronger than before. Because sometimes, the most painful dates don't just reveal who the other person is, they reveal who you are too. And Lena was done being fooled. From then on, she promised herself to spot the red flags early and never again let someone make her feel small. She learned that the real cost of a bad date isn't the bill you pay at the table. It's the dignity you lose if you let the wrong people take advantage of you. What would you have done if you were Lena? Would you have called him out in public or walked away quietly? Tell me in the comments. And if this story made you shake your head, don't forget to subscribe to Dating Horror Stories, where the worst dates become the best lessons.